This video is prepared according to the syllabus of KTU, Course Subject Web Technologies, course code CS368. Today we are going to discuss about JavaScript object notation that is included in Module 5. This is the syllabus. So the first part of the syllabus, that is about XML, already we have discussed. So today we are going to discuss about the second part, that is JavaScript object notations that we will see one by one. In this section we will start with what exactly JavaScript object notation. Then we will see the features of JSON and advantages also we will see. Then we will discuss the syntax of JSON. We all are familiar with XML code. So for getting an idea about JSON code, we will do the comparison so that we will get an idea about that. Then we will discuss the JSON data types, objects, looping and object and all. Here, this is mainly used for transmitting data between server and web applications. So here two things are required. Text to object conversion, that string to object conversion is required. Then again, that object to string conversion is also required. So both conversion steps we will discuss. Then we will see JSON schemas, schema validation also we will discuss. It is essential for reading this thing using PHP, ASP and all. So here in our syllabus PHP is included, so that portion is also I have included in this. That is actually not included in your syllabus. In the next module you need to concentrate on PHP, so this topic is also I included in the session. So you will get an idea about how to read a JSON file using PHP and all. And finally we will do the comparison between JSON and XML. Before we discuss about JSON, let me say what is JSON. JSON is nothing but a text data interchange format. It's used to store information in an organized manner for transmitting data between server and web application. The main features of JSON are it is lightweight, easy to read and write text data interchange format. It is mainly used to store information in an organized and easy to access manner. It's not a programming language. It's a text-based human-readable data exchange format. Its main purpose is to transmit data between server and web application. The syntax supports strings, values, booleans, nulls, objects and arrays. It works with most of the modern programming languages. It has several advantages compared to XML. The file extension is .json. It has extended from JavaScript scripting language. Here, the JSON libraries are available in many programming languages. That is an added advantages of this. It uses JavaScript syntax to describe data objects and all. Still, JSON language is platform independent. That is also an added advantage of this. So now we are going to discuss about the syntax of JSON. Here data is represented as name value pairs isolated by comma. Curly brackets organize objects and column isolate each item. You will see the examples. Also, square bracket holds the array and comma separate the values. This is the example for this. See, this is the example. See the curly brackets and name value pair. But one important thing you have to remember here is this is name, this is value pair. So again, this is name, this is value. In the case of JavaScript object, that codes are not there, but here this is mandatory. That is the main difference if you compare with JavaScript and this. In syntax ways, if you compare, you can easily understand this. Now let us see separation is comma separation is there. Now let's focus on the advantages of JSON. It provides support for all browsers. That is an advantage that is very essential as far as web application is concerned. It is easy to read and write. Syntax wise, it's straightforward syntax. See, syntax wise also it's fine. That using JavaScript evaluation functions we can use. That is also an advantage of this. It is easy to create and manipulate. Supported by all major frameworks, JavaScript frameworks it supports. Backend technologies also it supports. Already I told that the JavaScript support is also there. It allows to transmit and serialize structured data using network connections. That's very important thing. You can use it with modern programming languages. That also we have discussed in the last slide. So here already that is JSON is text which can be converted into another object of JavaScript. So JavaScript object notation and send it to JavaScript object notation to server, and reverse is also possible. So these are the advantages of using JSON. You are familiar with the HTML code. See, this code already you are familiar. This is the code. You are familiar with this. That means we should have one root tag. Then that is called parent tag and all. Then slightly child tag also we have. So you need to close that. This is opening tag, this is closing tag. Similarly here also you have to do like this. That is essential here. Then all other things, register number, name, then ID, register number, name, last name, everything you have to specify. So this is very clear for you. Similarly in the case of JSON code, what we need to specify, the syntax wise it says that name value pair you have to give. This is the name, then you should have colon here, then value, within that you need to specify the value. This is the opening box, so within that you need to specify the value. This is the separator. Comma is the separator here. You need to, this is what the thing. So again, if we come to this internally, again name colon value, another name value pair, then again here comma is the separator. Like that you need to specify. This is what JSON code. This is clear, right? Shall I skip to next slide? Now we are going to discuss about JavaScript data types. JSON data types. So it supports string, number, object, array, boolean, and all. These are the examples for that. So here the important thing is string must be written in double quotes. Okay, that is important. This is an example for that. Name value pair. See, name value pair like that. Then numbers, the value here. So here this is name, this is value. It is number. Here it is string. Also value can also be an object. See, this is a name, then colon, entire thing is value. From here colon onwards it starts. Entire thing is value. Okay, name value, this is actually an object. That can be an object. Also it can be an array. See, this is array. Name colon, this is value, an array. Okay. Boolean type is also, it supports to Boolean type. Null is also. This is about JSON data types. Now we are going to discuss about JSON objects. JSON objects are surrounded by curly brackets. As we have discussed earlier, it is written in key value pairs. But one important thing is keys must be string and values must be valued. This thing that is valued data types, that can be string, number, object, array, or boolean type. So here I told no, this is key must be string. Other you can have any data type like string, numbers, or another string or boolean or anything you can have according to your convenience. This is about the JavaScript objects. Now we will see how to access the object values. Here either you can use dot notation or bracket notation. That values can be accessed either using dot or notation. So this is the example of dot notation. This is again a dot notation. This is example of bracket notation. This is clear, right? This is actually this variable here. In this particular variable it is assigned, and what exactly the value that we are getting using detail.name. So here only this name we will get. Here marks. Then for last this thing result pass like that we will get. This is about accessing object values. Now we are going to discuss about how we can display the content of an object using a loop. Here we used for a loop for that purpose, and assume that this is what the object we have, that we have the name value pair. The one by one each value pair we need to display. So this particular loop will keep on executing and here x object of x, initially the first value pair it will consider, and only the value will be displayed here. That is first one. During the next loop, the second value will be displayed, and finally the third one. This is about accessing of an object using loop. We already discussed that use of JSON is to exchange data between server and web applications. When receiving data from server, the data is always string. Here we require to convert the string to JavaScript object. For that, we can use JSON.parse that will convert actual received string content to JavaScript object. For example, assume that we have received a text from the server like this, that is name value pair name, like this, again another one. So the entire text we have received like this. So we need to convert this thing to JavaScript object. So what we can do is we can use JSON.parse function. Then within that you need to put the entire string, and here what we get is the JavaScript object. This is what the variable for storing the JavaScript object. The script is shown here. This is the text what exactly we received. This step we have converted this thing to object, that corresponding text to object conversion we have done. Now anyway this is object. Now using dot or bracket notation, we can access one by one, that is name, marks, result and all we can access, and we can just display. This is about parsing JSON. Just now we have discussed that we receive a string content and we need to convert that thing to JavaScript object processing purpose. Similarly, it is essential for us to convert JavaScript object to string also. Now let's see how that can be done. There is a function called JSON.stringify. There you need to specify the object what you have. Here the corresponding JSON string we will receive. Converted string we will get in this variable. For example, this is what the object we have. After conversion you will get like this. Clear, no? This is about converting a JavaScript object into string. All of you are familiar with forms and for submitting any form we need some sort of validation. See, for example, the field we may have name, phone number, then email ID, a lot of other things. Let us consider the case of email ID. So simply if you type anything, that should not accept it as a what do you call email ID. So email ID means we know there is a format for that. That is a name at the rate of Gmail or like that yahoo.com Gmail or that anyway we need to specify. So there is one format name at the rate and corresponding site we need to specify. So that format wise how that particular data is it is accepting, that is very essential. So similar thing of grammatical language for defining the structure, content or semantics of JSON objects are known as JSON schema. It allows to specify metadata about what an object's properties mean and what values are valued for those properties. The result of applying the grammar language is a schema or blueprint describing the set of JSON objects that are valued according to the schema. So as I mentioned earlier, most of the cases that validation is required, schema validation is required. So we should have proper format for that. JSON schema is maintained at jasonschema.org site. It describes your existing data format. It offers clear and human readable, machine readable documentation. It provides complete structural validation, which is useful for automated testing and validating client submitted data. So this is very important, for we cannot go and check each and every line. So system should do this whole thing. How it can be done? This is the way we need to proceed for that. That is what's specified by means of JSON schemas. Now we will see how that can be implemented and all. Now we are going to discuss about JSON schema validation. For understanding that, we will discuss some keywords. $schema keyword, $ID, title, description, type and all we will discuss. $schema states that this schema is written according to a specific draft of the standard. That is what mentioned here. See, in this example, anyway, we will discuss the example. $ID defines the URL for the schema. URL for the schema. Title and description, about title and description. The instance of schema is stated using title and description keywords. Type using keyword, what type it is, that is what specify. It defines the first constraint on our JSON data, and in this case it has to be a JSON object. For example, let us consider the case. This is what the data we need. We have name, age. So this particular object describes about what? This is JSON object. This describes about a person. This particular object describes about a person. So title is a person. Description, it describes about a person. What this? This is JSON object. This is of type JSON object. This is of type object. Now we need to specify the entire thing. We need to specify the name, then colon, entire value we need to specify. Now entire value we need to specify. The value in here, what we need to specify? Internally again we have now name value pair. Name. So we are describing about this particular thing. This particular in the object, this particular thing we are describing. What actually name? It is a name of a person, person's name. Previously we have seen entire object describes about a person. Now about the name, this particular name refers that is a name of a person. Now what the type of this thing should be string. The type of this thing should be string. That is what this means. The next thing we are discussing about the age. So here we are discussing about the age. This is name, then entire value. Okay. Here description, person's age. We are the description here is person's age. It should be of type number. Then range also we can, that may vary from 18 to 60. This is what the thing. Clear now? Then one more thing is required thing. Name is required, age is required. The meaning is that it shouldn't be blank. You have to specify name. You need to specify age also. So condition is minimum that can be 18 and maximum it can be. So this is about simple example for JSON schema validation. Clear now? It's very clear, right? Now we are going to discuss about how to read a JSON file using PHP. So to understand this, you should have some basics about PHP. PHP codes are within these two tags. This is opening tag, this is closing tag. And also the advantage of this thing is we can embed this PHP code to any HTML code wherever we want. The only thing is we need to start with this thing. You have to write the PHP code, then we need to close the code. Then remaining things HTML only. That way we can do the coding. Other things you need to remember here is PHP variable that starts from dollar. See here and that starts from dollar. That you need to specify. Our intention is to JSON file format using PHP. So definitely we should have an object. So first we should have to create that. So this step will do that. This is the object we have. Then using JSON encode format, that will be converted to the format, the string type format, which can be displayed. And this converted thing, just we need to display using echo. This is about displaying. So moment you execute this, you will get a warning message that creating default object from empty value. So our intention is to display an object. Why? Because PHP class prototype is not specified. It is nothing, but it is similar to JavaScript's object prototype. So that is to be specified. That is what specified here in this statement. So you will get an output like this. This is about reading a JSON file using PHP. Okay, clear, right? Now we are going to discuss about the differences between XML and JSON. In the case of JSON, object has a type, whereas in the case of XML, data is typeless. In the case of JavaScript object notation, we have string, numbers, array, boolean and all. Whereas in the case of XML, data should be string. Here, in the case of JSON, data is readily accessible as JSON objects. Here, data need to be parsed. In the case of JSON, it supports by most browsers. But in the case of XML crossbows, some parsing can be done somewhat tricky. JSON has no display capabilities. Since XML is a markup language, it has the capability to display data. In the case of JSON, receiving value is easy. Here, receiving value is difficult for XML thing. JavaScript object notation supports many Ajax toolkit. XML won't support Ajax toolkit. In the case of JavaScript, it is fully automated way of serializing and deserializing JavaScript. Whereas in the case of XML, developers how to write JavaScript code to serialize and deserialize XML. Here JSON itself object, so it native support for object. In the case of XML, object has to be expressed by convention. JSON support UTF-8 encoding that supports only UTF-8 encoding, whereas XML supports various encoding techniques. In the case of JSON, that won't support comments, whereas XML support comments. JSON files are easy to read compared to XML. XML documents are relatively more difficult to read and interpret. JSON does not provide any support for namespaces. Here in the case of XML, it supports namespaces. Then one more important thing is JSON is less secured compared to XML. XML is more secure than JSON. These are the differences between JSON and XML. These are the references I have gone through while preparing this. Thank you. Thank you for watching my video.